So adjust the foundation of your pose as you can see that she's doing. Place your hands on your thighs. Take a moment to allow your thigh bones to release down to the floor. So the groins will be an area that we're talking about. Release your inner groins towards your inner knees. And continue to allow your thigh bones to feel stable and heavy. We've been talking a lot about how important it is to establish a firm foundation. So we create a firm foundation in our yoga poses, and then we use that firm foundation as we navigate our way through the rest of our life. Yoga is just a symbol of everything else we do. So once you feel stable, you feel the comfort of Mother Earth below you, then lift your bottom chest up towards your top chest. Lift your armpit chest area up as well. Allow your shoulders to release down. And bring a spreading sensation across the front of your chest. Now start to draw your awareness deep inside. Make the journey to your spiritual heart center, the seat of your true self. If you haven't yet, go ahead and close your eyes. And then just take this opportunity as you reside in the abode of your heart to appreciate things in your life that you're grateful for. You can just, what comes to mind. So I'm not trying to bring your mind into an academic state. Just using this opportunity to allow you to tap into that spiritual heart center in a way that connects you to the people and places around you. And then as you're moving through this feeling of gratitude, feel the warmth that comes into your spiritual heart center when you reside in a place of gratitude. And how gratitude brings feelings of love, compassion, and understanding. And as we connect to these feelings, which are always there, we just need to remind ourselves to connect to them. Notice how your breath feels, in turn, how your physical body is responding to such a positive vibration that's coming through you. Now maintaining your inward focus, change the cross of your legs. We'll do the invocation together. Once you've changed the cross of your legs, join your hands together at your heart. Reclose your eyes, reconnect with your spiritual heart center. Yogena Chitasya Padena Vacham Malam Shairasya Chavajakena Yopakartam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjalir Anatosmi Abahu Purushankaram Shankar Chakrasidaryam Sahasra Shirdasam Shredam Pranamami Patanjalim Hari Om. Feel that resonance deep inside that spiritual heart center, the seat of your true self. And then release your head to your hands. Release your hands to your thighs. Raise your head and allow your eyes to open. So we're going to start with a prone pose. That means you're going to lie on your abdomen. I'm going to take the camera down to the floor so you can see better. So what you'll do is you'll take one blanket and roll it up. Okay, so I just rolled up that blanket. Patricia's going to lie on her abdomen with her ankles over that blanket. So she's lying on her abdomen. Just want you to see before you also join her, because there's one more blanket we're adding, and I want to make sure you understand what's being added. So lie down, turn your head to one side. If that's okay, take your arms back. There you go. So in terms of the feet, you want the big toes together and the heels apart. So there's that feeling of spreading in the backs of the legs. Now, everyone's different here, but some of you, because you have a strong curve in the low back area, will benefit by having a blanket there. Now, Patricia doesn't have a strong curve, but she still may appreciate having a blanket there. I'm just taking the blanket and folding it once. Let's see how that feels. It's on the navel, not the pelvis, but the belly button. There she goes.
That's nice.
That's nice, she says. So, okay, arms are resting on the mat. So when you lie down, put a rolled blanket under the front of your ankles. Put a folded blanket under your navel band area. If anyone feels like they need more than one folded blanket, like Megan, for example, you might say, yeah, I'm going to do a 3-fold or something like that. So you can try different things. It's always best to be with the feeling of the pose. Now, as you place the blanket under your belly button, right, your navel band, your belly button, you want to feel as if your buttocks are releasing away from your lower back. That's there's a couple things this blanket's doing, and that's one of the things that the blanket's doing. Now, take some moment just to kind of settle in. We don't lie down this way often on the floor like this. You can have your arms back. Some of you have your arms in a cactus shape. That's fine. You can do that if that feels better on your shoulders. Yeah, so you want to experiment to make sure that you've got the right arm position for your shoulders, and make sure that blanket's under your navel band for sure. So the navel band, you can, if you're not sure where I mean, touch your belly That little indentation is your navel with the blanket right there. Sometimes we don't know where it is. Yeah. Now let your nervous system start to come into a quieter place. So as we become more quiet, we actually are on the journey of realizing our true self, right? We know yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is calming the fluctuations of the mind. And when, just following on with that sutra, when the mind is quiet, we realize who we truly are. So we can have glimpses of that as we quiet our nervous system and continue to work in a place of gratitude in that spiritual heart center. Now, I know some of you just got there, but that's okay. Turn your head the other way. And if your neck isn't tolerant of turning your head, you can stack your hands and put your forehead on your hands. Part of the benefit of the pose is to get turning ability in the neck. And I say this often, but it's true. Turning your head is a life skill. It's required for crossing the street, driving a car, riding a bicycle. We could go on, but we don't think about it because it's something that we can always do. And then suddenly you think, oh, my head's not turning that much. So yoga will help your head turn in a functional manner. It's a functional movement. And you'll feel as you turn your head the other way some resistance. See if you can use your exhalations to let go of that resistance. Focus on your breath. Take this opportunity as you're lying face down to bring your mind into a quieter and quieter place. It's actually easier to do in this position than some other positions. So we're starting here for that reason. Okay, now push back to Adho Mukha Virasana. Keep the roll underneath your ankles. Take the blanket underneath your head. You can turn it the other way. Yeah. And then reach your arms forward, but it doesn't have to be a dynamic reach. But still, I want you to feel some sense of extension. So Patricia's getting everything exactly right, which I appreciate. You can see she got in there and adjusted the flesh of her calves. Some of us that ride bikes and walk and do all the things need to get the calves out of the way. Now, knees should be apart. So Adho Mukha Virasana is a knees apart pose. And as you come into this pose, you should feel just a nice sense of length in that lower back area. I don't know if you can hear my cat is snoring. It's not something I hear very often. It's so funny. Okay, now walk your hands back and come up. If you have a bolster, take a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, take a couple of blankets or a cushion from your sofa or pillow. No. I didn't say to subtract anything. So don't take anything away unless I tell you. Yes, grab a bolster. Now we're going to put that navel band blanket back. Now Patricia will lie down again in the same position she was in. We're going to take the leg out to this side. So let's let her get in first of all. Get everything where it needs to be. Now she's going to bend her right leg. Come on. Come on, you got to help me.
Oh,
I didn't know
we were going.
Now, I'm happy to help, but I can't lift the leg. Legs are heavy. So we've got the knee in line with the hip and the knee in line with the heel. So you can think about this pose as a kind of face down Virabhadrasana 2. Okay? Now, if you can't turn your head, then you can do what Patricia's doing. But those of you that are able to turn your head towards the leg that's bent. Yeah. Okay, so good. Thank you for showing that. Now, what she wants to start to feel, and you want to feel, is that this right buttock, no, you just be there. The right buttock is descending down. It's just going to take time. As I mentioned at the beginning of class, we're working with the groins, right? So it's gratitude groins. Grateful groins. I didn't work on the title. So let that buttock descend. So the practice of yoga is one in which we're seeking transformation, we're seeking growth, we're open to having a variety of experiences. So let every experience, let every pose be an opportunity. Or as BKS Iyengar says, let every experience be a stepping stone. Right, but we could transform that into let every asana be a stepping stone. And in this opportunity of bringing the body, the mind, and the breath through a practice of yoga within this context of cultivating gratitude, you'll find that with gratitude comes contentment. And especially as we lie down, face down, contentment is easier to feel than when we're standing or, some other things. And part of it is that our vision is blocked, right? We're not looking around and our mind's not wandering and thinking all the things. Now take your right leg back so it's back in the position it was. I want you just to feel what that position did to your right leg, how much space and freedom is there. And now you'll move your bolster to the other side. We're taking a prone Virabhadrasana 2 with the other leg. So take your left leg out. Have your left knee in line with your hip. So Patricia, move the bolster so your foot's supported as well. So what's great about having Patricia here, besides it's great having Patricia here,
You can see what
is when she's doing things, I'm reminded of the kind of things that can happen. And so I'm able to offer that. And when I correct her, I'm really, correcting everyone. I'm just saying, hey, is your foot supported on the bolster? So you don't feel like giving her a hard time. She keeps coming back, so it must be working. Yeah. Okay, so signs are different, right? I think that's what Patricia's experienced, like the leg's just not working the same way it did when it was the right leg. Yes, welcome to your body. There it is. So again, The buttock should be descending down to the floor, and that requires the inner groin to soften and release. Okay, you've turned your head, so now your head's towards your bent leg side. So contentment is something that is talked about in several places in the Yoga Sutras. The one place that a lot of people see it is in the 8 limbs of yoga. So the first 2 limbs of the 8 limbs of yoga are the yama and niyama. And the yama are the ethical yoga guidelines, right, that we should practice on and off the mat. The niyama are our own personal observances that we should practice, again, on and off the mat. Contentment, cultivating contentment, is one of the things we should do for ourselves. It's one of the niyama. Because when we approach our practice or we approach our life with contentment, then we have a calm, clearer mindset in which to navigate through the challenges that we're faced with every day. And let that left groin soften more and more. And now take your left leg back to its starting position. And then you're going to come into Adho Mukha Virasana. This time, take your knees slightly wider apart. So you might even take your knees to the edge of your mat. So a wide-kneed Adho Mukha Virasana. You should feel some freedom there after what we just did. Big toes together, knees apart, wide knees. Stay on the mat. I don't want your knees to feel uncomfortable, but feel the inner groins again as they flow and soften. Okay, now walk your hands back and come up. Now you'll need a chair and the blankets that you have, the bolster can be pushed to the side. Some of you might want height on the seat of the chair. Patricia might, but I'm going to show the pose first and then we can figure out what she needs afterwards. So now I'm turning the the blanket. It's going to go right in this sidewaist area. And I'm taking a blanket and folding it in half. Okay, it's this size. So we're taking Anantasana, this variation of Anantasana. So I'm on the outer edge of my left foot. I'm putting my right foot up on the seat of the chair. I'm taking this thin blanket under my side waist area. I'm taking this half folded blanket under my head, and my palm is facing down. Now I have my hand here on the blanket because I don't want you to feel like it's a balancing pose. Okay, if you feel like, oh, I don't feel like it's a balancing pose, then you can have your arm on your side. Okay, so now Patricia will come into the pose and she'll see what she needs. Anantasana.
Could you show how the blanket on your side is folded?
Yes, there's a thin folded blanket under the side waist area.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So you're going to lie on your left side with your right leg up on the chair. If you've already set it up and you're set up the other way, it's not important. Just make sure you do both sides. It's fine. Now, the thin folded blanket that was under your navel band is now under your side waist area. And then the half folded blanket we're putting between your ear and your arm. Now that arm that's straight, that your head's resting on, that palm should be facing down. Yes. Now look down your physical body and make sure you're in a line. That means you're in Tadasana, so to speak, on your side.
But
Yeah.
this leg goes up.
Yeah, but the right foot is pointing up. But don't hard point the toes. Yeah.
Can the foot hang off the back or push the chair back if you want the foot on?
So I want the back of your knee on the edge of the chair. If you have long shins, maybe your foot hangs out. Yeah, but if you put the back of the knee into the chair, it feels like it belongs there, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I have a feeling of belonging. If you really can't get stable here, you can bend the leg that's not on the chair, because I'm just responding to what I'm seeing. Some of you are a little wobbly. So you can always bend that bottom leg to bring stability. So how does this feeling of contentment change as you start to look out into the world? You know what I mean? Like you were head down before, so you weren't looking at anything. Now you're looking out. Can you keep this idea, this concept, this feeling of contentment as you start to attend to the world around you? Maybe now that you're attending to the world around you, this is an opportunity to practice gratitude. Again, you might look around and say, oh, I'm so grateful for, a person in your house or an animal in your house, or you can even be grateful for looking at an afghan that someone knit. Oh, I'm grateful for that. It can be objects. It's, that a lot of love went into the making of that. So there's some gratitude that someone put that energy into that. So it doesn't have to be profound. We don't have to practice gratitude for something profound. Actually, a daily practice of gratitude, a constant practice of gratitude for small things is more likely to result in a state of happiness and contentment than just saving all that up for profound things. And I don't know about all of you, but one thing about this chapter that we're all going through is it has made me grateful for smaller things. Probably I'm not the only one that feels that way. That's a gift. That's a beautiful gift. Some of you have children and you see how grateful they can be for a small thing, and it's also a reminder. All right, now take your leg down. Just feel the result of having your leg on the chair. It might be something either you haven't done or you haven't done much. Might be surprised at how much freedom comes. And then just turn the other way. It's fine if your back is to me. Just keep it simple. Keep your mind on the task at hand, quieting the mind, cultivating gratitude, working on living in a state of contentment. That's another sutra. I'll wait till everyone's in there and I can read that sutra. It's actually one of my all-time favorite sutras. And it's part of the 8 limbs teachings. By contentment, supreme joy is gained. It's so simple. By contentment, supreme joy is gained. We'll just find this in a couple books and read you different translations. So Carrera, what does Carrera say? He says exactly that. By contentment, supreme joy is gained. Okay, let's find BKS. I know he says something a little different. Yes, he says from contentment and benevolence of consciousness comes supreme happiness. So what I found so fascinating about this sutra is that happiness isn't something we're looking for, it's the result of something else. And some of you might have seen, I came across this saying or quote. It's not credited to anyone, I apologize for that, but I'll read it to you because it relates to these sutras. Ironically enough, when you make peace with the fact that the purpose of life is not happiness, but rather experience and growth, happiness comes as a natural byproduct. When you are not seeking it as an objective, it will find its way to you. And then in terms of the commentary about this sutra, Deskachar. So Deskachar was Krishnamacharya's son, and he, BKS Iyengar, and Pattabhi Jois are the three students of his that stayed in the yoga system and created their own take on the teachings of Krishnamacharya. So Deskachar is a big name in that way. So Deskachar translates the sutra as the result of contentment is total happiness. And then he says, the happiness we get from acquiring possessions is only temporary. We need to continually find new possessions to sustain this sort of happiness. There is no end to it, but true contentment leads to total happiness and bliss. And now you're going to take your leg down, move the bolster out from under your side waist area, lie on your back, and come into Supta Sukhasana. That means you're just lying flat with your legs crossed. You can take a blanket under your head if you need it. I don't mind that. And Lori or anyone else that feels like they have a lot of mobility in the groins, you can always put rolled blankets under your thighs if you feel too much opening. So we're all challenged with either, we've got too little opening, too much opening. So we're trying to get that right balance of flexibility and stability. So you cross your legs. And just like we do at the beginning of class, you want to take time to make sure your knees are directly below your feet. Let's do that the other way, that your feet are directly below your knees. Now, this is an interesting pose. It's, again, one of those poses that appears so simple, and yet it's actually can be a challenge, although I hope you're finding that you have more freedom now than you usually do. So again, the inner groins soften and release towards the inner knees, and the thigh bones feel stable. Now we were starting to look down, we look to the sides, now you're looking up. So we want to pull this thread of gratitude that leads to contentment, that is that will bring happiness, right? This thread that we're pulling through the class, that's a sutra too, right? And that's from the word suture, right? The thread that pulls the teachings together. So with every perspective that we take, we want to feel that we can maintain that cultivated consciousness. And go ahead and change the cross of your legs. Second side will be more challenging. Now, you can uncross your legs, stretch your legs out. Try not to tense up your legs. It's a funny thing we do, isn't it? We just spent all this time softening the groins, and then we just want to go back to hardening them. And that's just us, seeking a state of homeostasis. So one of the challenges of moving on the path of yoga is we have to give up the familiar. We have to have a kind of faith that the unfamiliar is actually a positive transformation. Okay, bend your legs, roll onto your right side, press your left hand down to sit up. Now, we're taking Supta Baddha Konasana. I'm going to show you a version that I'd like you to try, but if it doesn't work for you, of course, I don't want you to do it. So what's familiar is the bolster is spine-wise. What might be unfamiliar is we're going to put block on top, second block as well, on top of the bolster. Okay, so this block will be on your middle upper spine, and that block will be under your head. Some of you will say, well, hey, I think I want a blanket on that block under my head. Either you need it structurally or you just want it for comfort. That's fine. And then since I'm giving you maybe an unfamiliar setup, I'm going to offer a one belt version. Okay, if you want it all, you can do a two belt version, but I think we've got enough going on here. Okay, if you don't have a belt, you don't have to use a belt. Of course, if you don't have these props, you can work with what you have. Okay, is everyone able to see? So let's have Patricia go in. That might clarify the pose a little bit. She's going to sit in front of the bolster, bottoms of the feet together. First thing is to put on the belt if you have one. Watch how she puts the belt low. It's like a seat belt, right? Low and tight. Goes over her thighs and under her feet. This is just a standard belt setup. She's going to pull the belt as tight as feels comfortable for her today. Now, when we lie over something, you've got to really lift your chest up. So I'm letting her, watch how she presses her hands down, lifts her chest up, and now she comes over the block. The trick is getting that first block in a comfortable place. Now, Judy, I don't know if this is a good setup for you, right? So you got to see if it's going to be okay. Don't do it if it doesn't feel good. And not just you, but I'm just saying it in general, but I know you have a complex spine. Okay, so if you can get in there and it feels comfortable, what you should feel is a dynamic lift to the chest. Remember to move your buttocks away from your low back area. Now, if you went over the blocks and you didn't feel comfortable, then try moving the blocks around. If you have a question, if you're not sure what's happening, feel free to ask. So we've got blocks on top of a bolster. So there's both, it's interesting, there's a stability but a softness, right? That the blocks have a little give because of the bolster below. If you just can't find a comfortable place here, just get rid of the blocks and lie on your bolster. You can give it a minute for it to happen, but if you're just in a constant state of adjustment, it might mean that the setup's not the right thing for you today. That's fine. Every day's a different day. Now you'll feel that spreading sensation across the front of your chest. So let's continue with this idea of gratitude brings contentment and contentment brings happiness. So let's talk more about contentment. And I didn't say yet, but the word in Sanskrit is santosha. It sounds like contentment, doesn't it? Santosha. It's a beautiful sounding word. So the practice of contentment requires looking for contentment, catching yourself in a state where you could choose to be content or agitated, and choosing to be content. So you could be upset by something someone said, or you could say, well, that's just where they're at right now. Now, that's not to say you don't address things with people, but you also have to choose your battles. And then there's also an acknowledgement that not everyone is on a path of growth and change. And to hold someone up to those standards when they're not on that path will only cause suffering for both of you. So we have to be clever about how we choose to grow and change, and that we don't drag people along that are reluctant. I grabbed a few quotes from people in preparation of today's class, and the first one I want to read is from Toni Morrison. She writes, "Your life is already artful, just waiting for you to make it art." Again, is that idea of, it has a lot to do with our attitude. Your life is already artful, just waiting for you to make it art. And then I posted, I know not everyone's on social media, and if you're not, I'm not encouraging you to go there. But I posted I know some of you now saw it. I posted something from Pema Chödrön, and she writes, "Being satisfied and grateful with what we already have is a magical golden key to being alive in a full, unrestricted, and inspired way." And if you don't know who she is, she's a very well-respected teacher of Buddhism. Scan your body, make sure you're not holding on to any unnecessary tension through the base of the torso, the abdominal area, jaw, throat, and tongue area. It's a wonderful pose to really let it all go. And then, Dolly Parton has been in the news a lot lately. She donated a tremendous amount of money towards this new one of the vaccines that's been released. And she tends to do really mindful things with her money. She gives a lot of books away to poor children in her state. Anyway, a lot of things. But anyway, quote from Dolly. And she says, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. So this idea that, we can continue to be the rainbow, we might just have to look the other way about certain things that are not important, that we're not going to change, that are not important. So I'm sure in her proceedings donating towards this vaccine, there were some things that she didn't want to deal with, right? But she did. She knows that that's going to bring us back to a place where we can move around more freely. All right, everyone, start to move your legs out of the belt. Be in the pose with your legs in Shavasana again. Resist the temptation to tense. And now bend your legs. You're going to roll onto your right side, roll off everything completely, shift everything out from underneath you. Shift it to the side, lie on your back. I want you to feel the space, the freedom, just that sense of well-being that comes after the sequence that we did. We're going to change course a little bit here. So it's not the final Shavasana, but it's a mid-class Shavasana. Feel your groins, your hips, your pelvis, your spine, your shoulders, your shoulder blades. And then as you feel ready, bend your legs, roll onto your right side, press your left hand down to sit up, and then you have a choice here of coming into Shirshasana headstand, or you can take a Paryankasana pose instead. So we'll ask Patricia what she wants to do. Okay, so she's going to take headstand at the wall. I'm going to move the camera. If you need to see Paryankasana, I can highlight someone who's doing it with their permission. Okay, so otherwise, Patricia is taking a headstand pose using the wall for support. You don't have to use the wall if you don't need it. Paryankasana is a supported back extending poses done with tall blocks, legs in Virasana. Okay, if you have ropes and you want to hang, do that. If you want to go through two chairs, do that. If you want to go over blocks, all the headstand variations are always welcome. Amy, can you take Supta Virasana with some blocks? And if not, you can take. Okay, so we're not doing shoulder stand at this juncture. We're doing headstand. Yeah, if you want to do the 2-chair back bend right now, Amy, you can do that. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and go up. Thank you. Now I'm going to give it 5 minutes, but I don't expect everyone to stay 5 minutes. So you want to hold on, Patricia. Press your forearms, lift your shoulders. I don't know if I can pull it
No,
off.
that's okay. I'm closing my eyes.
Okay. Yeah, Judy, the only thing I would change about your pose is a little more height under your head. Yeah. So what I find in my own practice is when I do headstand or I hang or whatever I do that's an equivalent of headstand, it really changes my state of mind. It's much easier for me to kind of pan out from my life and see a bigger picture and be more in a state of contentment. So some of you heard this a little bit last night. I was having a funk. I was just in a funk. It doesn't happen often, but it happens, of course. And I was really feeling blue. And you know how when you're not feeling great, sometimes it is hard to get your yoga going. But I just took myself to my rope wall and I got myself to hang upside down. And I already felt like I just did 5 minutes. It was all I needed. I came out and I thought, okay, now I'm ready to do the rest of my practice. So I just really needed that head clear. You can, imagine that all the clutter that in our brain, all that unnecessary clutter that sometimes gets to us, just let it all fall out. Let it all move into the earth. The earth will transform it into fertilizer, right? Let it all go. It's all junk and garbage. Those of you that are done with headstand, yeah, that's it. You can do a legs up the wall pose. Just finish it off that way. And then Eckhart Tolle wrote, acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance. That's a nice gratitude practice. All of us are very lucky, right, to have the time and resources and wherewithal to spend this time doing yoga. Now, for those of you that feel comfortable, once you've established that solid foundation, close your eyes, and in doing so, move the pose into a softer, quieter state. Imagine that heart chakra right in the center of your chest, that green wheel of energy. Spin that wheel, radiate that energy. You're going to stay one more minute. If that's not the right thing for you, then definitely come down. Be grateful for the time you were able to stay in the pose. Be content that you've done what you can do today. The good news is you're going to do yoga again. You can try and stay longer next time. Now start to recycle the actions at the base of your pose, pressing your forearms, lifting your shoulders. And then as you feel ready, slowly come out of the pose, rest your head on the floor. If you are hanging, rest your head on the wall. Yeah, those of you in Paryankasana Supta Virasana can start to make your way out of the pose as well. So we're taking, actually I'll bring the camera back down to the floor. You can put that mat to the side, please. Yeah. Okay. We're taking a cross bolster Dvipada Viparita Dandasana. Okay. So pose, I'll show this pose with a single blanket folded across the mat, and then a bolster on top. However, if you're tall or you're flexible, you may want to add a second blanket underneath. Okay? And then those of you that try this and think, I don't think that's so good for my back, you can get rid of that blanket. Okay? So that's the basic setup. And what I want you to do here is use at least one belt, but if you have two belts, I want you to use two belts. Okay, so I'll show you where I want the belts. You'll put one belt in the middle of your thighs. It's good to not have it twisted. And I'm pulling the belt to the left. And now I'm going to put the second belt in the middle of my calves and pull the belt the other way. Okay, now if you have a medical practice of Iyengar yoga and there's a certain way you wear your belts on your legs, do that. Okay, this is just general. Okay, now watch. I'm going to swing my legs, put my buttocks on the front edge of the bolster, lift, right? Lift, 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 and then lie back with my shoulders still up on the bolster and the back of my head on the mat. Okay, if you can't get comfortable here, if you're like this, then you definitely need to put a blanket under your head. Okay, do you see the shoulders are not up? The shoulders are up. Now watch, sorry. We'll stay there for a while and then we'll transform the pose into a Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Now the shoulders are down, still with the belts. Okay, I'm going to let Patricia do it. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, if you don't have two belts, put a belt around your thighs. If you don't have a belt, that's fine. So one belt goes around your mid-thighs. The second belt goes around your mid-shins. Have the tail of the belt pull in the opposite way. Doesn't matter which is which. So you're creating a feeling of your legs being one leg. You're simplifying your body. Won't be simple to walk, but it'll feel simpler here. Then once you've got your belts on, you're going to sit on the front edge of your bolster with your legs bent. Place your hands on the cross blanket. Lift your chest up, move your shoulder blades into your chest, and then lie back. Remember, your shoulders are still on the bolster. And your head, the back of your head is touching the floor. Some of you might need to add a blanket under your head. You're welcome to do that. Then straighten your legs. Press through your heels. You'll have to readjust so there's a feeling of symmetry in your physical body. Arms are out by the sides, palms up towards the ceiling. Jacqueline, it looks like you're on the top of your head, but I want you to be on the back of your head. Yeah, so you might need a blanket. Yeah, something needs to happen. That's a step in the right direction. So if you're not sure, you can touch the top of your head. If you can't touch it, that means it's touching the floor and you're not in the right place. So we can think about the skull as a block, right? So there's a top edge, a back edge, right? We know it's round, but sometimes simplifying helps us get ourselves in the right place. Your front throat area should feel soft and relaxed. If you haven't yet and you need to, you can move the flesh of your buttocks away from your low back area. For some bodies, that's something that needs to happen often. Mother Teresa says, the best way to show my gratitude is to accept everything, even my problems, with joy. And I guess she really had to walk that walk because she was working, in very adverse conditions in Calcutta. She really probably needed a lot of internal joy to get through those days. Really a special person. Now, if you're here and your back feels uncomfortable, try bending your legs, see if you can take the pressure off your back. The other idea is to move the blanket from underneath the bolster. So many of you are taking that piece of advice. Yeah, and that will be, it's good you're doing it now because the next pose, you'll feel the need for that even more. So Carrie, any Dvipada Viparita Dandasana poses that you can do that feel fine for today? We are going to, maybe you've done those and you're ready for your Setu Bandha. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And then I think I've seen you do this where you put a second chair on the bed and you put your calves up on the seat of the chair as you're in Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. It's okay. You can keep going. Remind me. I can't see your face, but I just see your body not moving. So I'm just guessing what your face looks like. I'm deducing. You can hear from, different people's voices, from your own experience, that gratitude has a way of opening the heart, right? The heart opens to a feeling of compassion, a feeling of love.
Do you
And of
mean
course,
like,
when we're feeling compassion and love, happiness is something that comes. Yes.
sorry, did you mean like this? Like have
Yes.
the chair here and then one up there?
Yes.
I'll try it.
Yeah. So it's Setu Bandha Sarvangasana Viparita Karni. And it is another pose from my medical practice of working with BKS Iyengar. It wasn't done on a bed, but obviously, but what works for you is fine. Luckily, beds are now part of our home yoga class.
Hey, Corin, are we doing Setu Bandha now or still in this?
Yeah, you're ready for it, aren't you? Go ahead and slide into Setu Bandha.
Okay.
So yes, now you'll bend your leg. He's keeping track of the time for me.
Me too.
Slide your shoulders down to the floor. Now you'll feel it can be stronger on the lower back. So you can try straightening your legs. If it doesn't feel good, you can keep your legs bent. The other option, but you probably don't want to get up, but the other option would be to put a block or some kind of support under your feet. But I can do that for you, Patricia, if you want something. Okay, she's hanging in there.
Formed.
Yes.
I can still transform.
Consciousness is being transformed. Yeah. Now, because the legs are belted together, you don't have to work the legs to keep it out of your low back the way that you might. However, if you feel like pressing through your heels will make the pose feel better, then do it, at least for the first minute of the pose. Such a small difference in where your body is on the props, but such a profound difference in how the props affect your physical body, and as a result, your breath and state of mind. Marie Kondo also talks about gratitude. If you're not familiar with her work, she systemized a way of decluttering your possessions. And she writes, have gratitude for the things you're discarding. By giving gratitude, you're giving closure to the relationship with that object. And by doing so, it becomes a lot easier to let it go. So I knew her work from, if you touch an object and it doesn't spark joy, to discard it, but I didn't understand that she actually has a very conscious way of helping you let go of things. Oh, that was a wonderful sweater. I remember it kept me very warm. I'm very grateful that that sweater kept me warm. It's not sparking joy. Okay, I'll give it away. If the pose keeps landing in your lower back, you just can't get it out of there, then I want you to slide down and rest your legs on top of the bolster. Okay, as a class, we're staying another minute, but not everyone needs to stay the whole time.
I'll work on his dreams.
Yes. So just so you know, if the pose is landing in your lower back, it could be that the front of your pelvis is tight. It could be that your middle and upper back area is tight. Be patient, it'll open with practice. Okay, now everyone bend your legs. Watch Patricia, you're gonna slide, if you need to, watch Patricia, she'll slide her buttocks off the bolster, keeping her belts on and letting her legs rest on the bolster. Buttocks down, legs up, and that should feel good for everybody. Legs straight, straighten your legs. Yes.
So Corin, I just did Setu Bandha now because I don't have a bolster. I'm just lying flat. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. So you'll feel a wonderful sense of letting go here. Now take inventory. Our next pose is shoulder stand classic or chair shoulder stand. If anyone's not taking either of those poses, you can do your legs up the wall with your legs spread apart. Okay, so Patricia is going to show chair shoulder stand. If you don't know this setup and you want to follow along with her, you're welcome to do so. If you don't have a chair, you can take a regular shoulder stand. If you don't want to do that, you can take your legs up the wall and separate your legs apart. There's always options. So I just want to get another upside down pose in. That's basically what we're trying to do here. So even a legs up the wall provides that opportunity. Now, some of you did some variations with me last night in class. So if you want to do those, fold that in half. You can do those. I'll refer to those. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, so Patricia's going into chair shoulder stand. If you want a refresher on how to get in, you can watch her. Most of you have a pretty good idea. Remember, a regular shoulder stand is possible. If you want to see that, I can show that. If neither of those seems like the right fit for you, you can throw your legs up the wall.
And we go any slower or just go?
No, you're fine. They're all doing their own thing. Thanks for checking. So remember, the blanket should be under your shoulders and the bottom third of your neck. Here's your chair shoulder stand, Amy. Now there's 3 positions for the hands and arms. You can have your palms facing each other. You can turn your palms up towards the ceiling and grab that crossbar of the chair. Or you can turn your palms away from each other and grab the legs of the chair. What we're working with here is the idea of external rotation. Now, some of you will be able to go further than others. Sienna, don't, oh good, you're not even doing this. I agree with that choice. Now there is a 4th choice, and that is, yeah, the 4th choice, and I'll show, Patricia, keep your feet on the backrest of the chair. Yeah, the 4th choice is, and not everyone can do this, but if you can, it feels good, is you bend your arms and catch the front legs of the chair with your inner elbows. Do you see how her arms are bent and her palms are up towards the ceiling? Now, of course, it's easier if you have longer arms. There's a lot of factors. It has a lot to do with how open you are in the chest. I can tell you that because I couldn't do it for a while.
Still put my legs up.
And still the legs go up. So it's just a review of something that I taught recently. It's completely optional. Yeah, that's it, Maggie. If you don't want to deal with it, if it feels like a lot, you don't have to do it. Now, in terms of chair shoulder stand, chair viparita karni, when you sit down in the chair with your buttocks, it's actually chair viparita karni. But if you lift your buttocks off the chair and bring your pelvis over your shoulders, yeah, you can bend your legs if you need to get there, then don't let go of the chair, Patricia.
Get the back legs.
No, you could still hold where you're holding, unless you don't want to.
No, I wanted to do this.
Yeah, but you can do it with, what I'm saying is you could have done it with your arms in that position. But it's okay. It's probably easier in a more familiar arm position. So just navigating over here. So you got your hips over your shoulders, heels over your hips. So that's a classic chair shoulder stand. Now sit your buttocks back down. Notice the pop of the chest, buttocks down. Buttocks now on the seat of the chair.
There.
Bend your legs, Patricia. Let your buttocks descend. And then bring your legs up. Let me try something with you. Bend your legs. I'm going to shift this blanket. I want to see if it's okay for you. Okay, now bring your buttocks down. Does that dig into your back or is that okay?
It's good.
Yeah, it's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just, good. We just figured
What my problem
We
was.
just figured out a better setup for you after working together for a while. That's how it goes.
Too much stuff like
You
that.
get too much stuff. You're a tall lady, but you're all legs. So
Right.
now if you want to come into halasana, either from classic shoulder stand or chair shoulder stand, go ahead and bring your feet down to the floor. Yeah, so Patricia's showing it. Okay, I was going to say she's showing it one leg at a time, but then she changed her mind. It's fine. So Bev, now take one leg halfway down. Just no, Bev, not Patricia. Just get a feel for it. That's what Maggie's doing too. Yeah, good, Marissa. And then you can switch legs. It's really a case of building confidence that the floor is there. Now, in another class with another sequence, we could use a second chair or a stool, right? To know. But I just want some of you to feel comfortable. Now, this is this classic, again, another Iyengarism is moving from the known to the unknown. So halasana on the chair for many of you is the unknown. And then if you were able to do it, you can come out of the pose and go in a couple times. I worked with this. I would put this in the category of a pumping action. What I found is after going in and out with motion a few times, I really felt my chest box pumped up, like in a good way. There was vitality, space. Oh yeah, so you can get wild too. Yeah, good. Amy, you're almost there, but stay in the zone of being comfortable. Marissa, did you get to the floor? I can't see because of the camera angle, but it looks like, yeah, good. Yeah, Christine, that's great. So Christine happened to be in a place where she could have her feet land on her sofa. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And then after you've been through that, if that's it, some of you are still going, after you've done it a few times, you can go back into the classic pose and feel how those leg variations brought a sense of space and freedom to your chest area. And now, as you feel ready, bend your legs, put your feet on the backrest of your chair. When you slide down so that your hips land on the blankets your shoulders were on. Yes, it's a soft landing. Let the seat of the chair touch the backs of your knees. You can slide the chair, slide you. Again, notice your chest. I don't know if it's the same for you, but that leg variation just really, yeah, it's very expansive. And, you know, it's a wonderful time for us to just continue to bring vitality to the respiratory system, right? It's right there. You know, the main area, those lungs are right there. So reading from the Carrera inside the Yoga Sutras about 242 by contentment, supreme joy is gained. So the commentary here, contentment is perfected in the absence of cravings. It is the experience that nothing is lacking, that everything that happens is an integral part of the divine plan. The result is a joy that transcends transitory pleasures and almost perfectly reflects the supreme bliss of the self. Joy is not an accident or a blessing that is arbitrarily bestowed by a capricious deity. It is the outcome of cultivating a vision of life that sees the unity of the self beyond the diversity of names and forms. Now from here, lift your buttocks up, remove the blanket. If you'd like to finish your Shavasana with your legs up on the seat of the chair, continue to do so. If you'd rather lie flat for Shavasana, that's fine as well. So now you're there. See if you can stop moving for the last 2 minutes. It's good to get everything right, but we can overcorrect. Relax, release, and let go into a state of stillness. If you want to continue with Shavasana, you may. I'm going to end the class here, so go ahead and draw your knees towards your chest. Roll onto your right side. Press your left hand down to sit up. Namaste. I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you so much, Patricia. It was wonderful to have you join us today.